Why do some people do well post-thyroidectomy while others don't? I want to share with you guys whether you're about to get your thyroid removed, you just had your thyroid removed, or it's been 20 plus years like me, what you need to know about what changes the game for people once they lose their thyroid. My name is Dr. Rebecca. I'm a DC and a functional practitioner, but more than that, I had my thyroid removed almost 20 years ago. And I have actively been in the research, not just for my own health, but for my coaching clients and membership community all over the world about how to truly live optimal post-thyroidectomy. And this is a question that comes up a lot, or an issue that comes up a lot. And really interesting is I recently interviewed some surgeons that do thyroidectomy and do radiofrequency ablation and for my podcast, and it was really interesting to see their point of view of what it looks like for a patient living post-thyroidectomy. Some of them recognize that, like, hey, post-thyroidectomy, people are suffering. Others are like, no, my clients do well. What's going on here, and what are the biggest things to be aware of? So, number one, the biggest reason why someone might do really well post-thyroidectomy just right off the bat is either your doctor put you on T4, T3, or you're just a really good activator of T4 into T3. Now, I will let you guys know this. When I had my thyroid first removed, I was on Synthroid and some T3. And I felt great. My doctor at the time actually had me on a good amount for me. And I thank the Lord for that, because I lost weight, I had energy. I mean, I was becoming dependent on a pill, losing my vital organ. But the ability to have both inactive T4 and active T3 was a game changer for me. It allowed me to have a reservoir where my body could activate it, even though my body was not efficient at turning T4 into T3. And the fact that he put me on T3 meant I had readily available thyroid hormones, and he wasn't afraid to optimize that for me. And so I did great, but his protocol was to put you on T3 just right at the beginning, since you lost that vital organ, and then take you off of it. And then I was on T4 only, and that's when I started to crash and burn. So for a lot of endocrinologists, they see T4 and Synthroid as the most optimal thyroid med option. And so many patients don't understand what Synthroid levothyroxine is, what studies say about it, what needs to happen. I mean, a lot of people don't really understand what all is interconnected with the thyroid and what's needed to be really well before they have their thyroid removed. I know I didn't. I started researching it because I started feeling like crap and no one was listening to me. So a big thing to understand is that your ability to convert and activate T4 into T3 is very, very important post-thyroidectomy. Now, we know that upwards of 50% of the population can have a genetic SNP, a genetic change, where your efficiency of turning T4 into T3 at the tissue level isn't that great. And a lot of people don't even realize they have that issue because the thyroid gland can make up for that. So that's how intelligent and amazing our body is. So if I had my thyroid and I didn't have this, I wasn't efficient at converting T4 into T3, my thyroid gland could step up and create more T3 for me to support me. So there's many people that may not even realize they have that issue with that T4, T3 conversion. And when you lose your thyroid, now you have this backup system that should be doing that for you, but now you don't have it, and it can make an issue that otherwise would have been fine a really, really big deal. And so there's that. There's also environmental things. There's toxins and meds. There's liver issues like congested and sluggish liver and gut microbiome issues. There's blood sugar issues and inflammation that can really affect your body's ability to not just activate T4 into T3, but also bind and utilize it at a cellular level. I want you to understand that your brain has its own source of T4, T3, right? So a lot of times your TSH can look fine, but you have all the signs and symptoms that things aren't fine because at the tissue level, it isn't. So it's really important to understand that there are some people, I have seen it, that have their thyroid removed and they're on Synthroid only, and they're like, I feel fine. And that's great. That means you have the liver function well, the gut, and you probably more than likely don't have that genetic SNP where it's causing you an issue. But there are millions of people that do have this issue. There's millions of people that have blood sugar issues. There's millions of people, especially women, that are written off by the medical system and don't know where to turn on how to get whole body healing. That's why I do what I do, because I went through that. I suffered through all of that. I had to optimize my thyroid meds. I had to understand my thyroid labs. I had to understand how to advocate for myself in a system that was broken and is still broken. And I had to find my voice and create a team. And it's not easy to do that, especially if you feel written off, but it's a necessity, and that's why I coach people through this. If you want more information about that, I have a link both on doing one-on-one consultations with me or signing up for my waitlist for the Healing After Thyroidectomy Mastermind Reset. But it's really important to understand that if you do well with T4 and you're on T4 only, that is just your body, but a lot of people do not. Another reason people might feel well is they might luck out and have that same situation that happened to me where they were on T3. A lot of you guys aren't getting that. So that's really important to understand, is that, okay, if someone's already utilizing T3, that can change everything. Now, the one thing I'll say that's really important as well is, do you have any are there issues going on? Because that's a big thing I think is really problematic, is that when we look at the thyroid and we look at post-thyroidectomy, we only think about like the thyroid being removed and how the thyroid hormones are affected and only that. But your sex hormones, so your menstrual cycles, your fertility, perimenopause, menopause, all of that is interconnected. How much thyroid hormones you need during perimenopause and menopause, especially if your HPA, your adrenals, are just taxed because of years and decades of just rushing around and not really prioritizing your health, or working in a medical system that doesn't really listen to you. You know, if you're going through menopause and perimenopause, that can make that transition post-thyroidectomy awful. And you need to support your body as a whole. That's the biggest thing, is that if there's co-issues going on, then you need to understand that the thyroid removal was just one step. The foundation is really important. You're eating, you're moving, you're sleeping, your hydration, your clearance pathways. And then the next step is, okay, well, what are some other systems that we need to support and heal naturally so that you can be optimal overall? So another reason is, you know, some people are younger. Men might not have as many hormone issues. There might be menstruating women that just hormones are fine and they have the thyroid removed and they can convert T4 to T3. That's the reason why. But regardless of how you feel at the beginning, this is the last thing I want to say about this. And you guys can let me know if you have any follow-up questions, and I'll make some videos to follow up on this. The biggest thing I still need you to understand, whether you feel good or not post-thyroidectomy, your ability to understand your labs, your ability to understand all your med options, and your ability to be an active participant in your healthcare, in your doctor's office, is so important post-thyroidectomy. It's important for everyone, but living without a thyroid, you have to understand what's going on. Because I will tell you this, I learned this the hard way, and then I started looking into it, and I'm still looking into the science of why this is happening. But even when I got on the right meds for me, it was about 4 years on that where I was feeling great, where it worked until it didn't work. And I found that every set amount of time I needed to switch up my meds. So I've had people say like, oh, what's the best med? What should I try? I don't know. Your body is uniquely yours, but you need the ability to try all the options at different seasons of your life. I've done NDT. I've gone back on Synthroid and Cytomel and Tyrosine, because when the med stopped working, the fastest way I saw amazing results getting back into my health realm, like where my brain is clear, my energy is good, I'm not struggling with depression and more ADHD thoughts, is when I switched my meds. When, you know, previously in my last pregnancy, I was on Tyrosine Cytomel, and man, I did great on that. And then I had my baby in my postpartum, and it was like I crashed and burned, and I tried to optimize those, and it just wasn't working for me. And so I got back on Armour Thyroid for the first time in 15 years, and boom, I lost 16 pounds, and I'm continuing to lose that as I'm, you know, tweaking that. So the idea is that even if something works now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best option for you 10 years from now, 15 years from now. That's why individualized medicine is so important. The studies, and your doctor can have a preference here, but your body is uniquely yours. And you have to understand that if you're feeling bad right now, you need to look at your labs, you need to look at your meds. Is this the best combination for you? You need to look at your labs from a functional range, not just within medical range. A lot of you guys saying your labs look normal, but you are not normal. Really important to look at the body as a whole. And if you feel good right now, that's amazing, but be aware that there's a possibility that 2 years from now, 5 years from now, you don't. And a lot of times people will go off the deep end when they don't feel well anymore, and they're like, especially, I want to tell you guys this, you gotta have the right foundation. You gotta eat well, move well, eat paleo, eat, decrease inflammatory foods, inflammatory fats, working on fasting and really supplementing your body, moving, getting sunlight, getting good sleep. Obviously, that's the foundation. And if you're doing all of that and then all of a sudden you're gaining weight, you're feeling brain fog, I always want you to remember the first thing you look at is your labs from a functional point of view in regards to range, and look at the possibility, do I need to change up my source of thyroid meds, my form of thyroid meds, especially when nothing else has changed and this is happening. So this is the biggest reasons why people feel well. They don't have other issues going on. They're male or they're menstruating women that don't have sex hormone issues. They're on T4 and they're able to convert T4, or they're on T4 and T3 and their doctor is optimizing that for them. The biggest reason I see people suffer is because they're not on the right thyroid med for them, and they're not on the right amount, and they're going to their doctor's office, here everything looks fine, and leave suffering. I went through that when I was on T4 only med, but again, it can get better. You don't have to suffer post-thyroidectomy. You can heal, but you have to start changing how you look at your health and what that looks like to know what your labs are, what med options are, and how to ask for what you need. Make sure to subscribe if this video was really helpful for you. I plan to share a lot more of life after thyroidectomy, healing after thyroidectomy content, so that you can feel educated, empowered, and equipped to live the life you were intended and created to live.